I declare this meeting open at 7 o'clock and welcome everyone to this evening's meeting of Ku-ring-gai Council. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here this evening. As councillors, we are entrusted with the responsibility of representing the diverse interests of our residents. Let us work together in a collaborative spirit, respect diverse opinions and seek common ground for the good of Ku-ring-gai. Before we begin, I'd like to outline a few procedures in relation to this evening's meeting of Council. This meeting is being recorded and webcast live on Council's website. Only Council laws and Council staff will be shown on camera. Attendees must not make a recording or photograph of the meeting without prior approval. Council meetings are open to the public as observers only. In line with the Code of Meeting Practice, members of the public can address Council via the monthly public forum. Council may close part of the meeting to deal with certain confidential matters in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act. These discussions will not be open to the public and will not be webcast. All attendees must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and other relevant Council codes, policies and procedures. Attendees must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleged breaches of the Council's Code of Conduct or making other potentially defamatory statements. Council laws, Council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent during the meeting. Council laws and Council staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they may have about any item of business that is on the agenda this evening. Now, are there any apologies for councillors? No, there isn't. Just letting people know that we do have Councillor Ward online with us as she's feeling unwell. Are there any apologies for staff, General Manager?
Madam Mayor, I have one apology from the Director of Development and Regulation, and the Manager Compliance and Regulation is acting in their place.
Thank you. Are there any conflict of interest declarations for councillors? And if you could please confirm if significant or non-significant, pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and the nature of the conflict. Okay, we'll start with Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to declare a potentially significant and pecuniary interest in C2 on the TOD SEP tonight, as I live within Council's alternative TOD plan. Council's plan may actually lower the value of my house as its controls are less advantageous than the prevailing lower mid-rise housing SEP. In line with the model Code of Conduct issued by the State Government, I will participate in the debate and decision on this vital matter and have submitted the requisite form to staff.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too have a significant pecuniary interest in C2, the TOD matter. I have submitted special disclosures of pecuniary interest under clause 4.39 of the Code of Conduct for my primary residence and for the primary residence of my parents who live near me. We both live within 400 metres of Killara Station, and the changes proposed could potentially result in a financial gain or loss depending on how the value of heritage homes are impacted through changes to TOD and also to the LMR. The disclosure enables me to discharge my duties as an elected representative for the Council. I will stay in the chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. I'll just move across to Councillor Ward, who's online. Can you hear us, Councillor Ward?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I too would like to disclose a pecuniary interest in clause 4.39 and C2. Transport-orientated development. My principal place of residence falls within the 800 metres and may be affected by the proposed changes to plan and in controls. I've lodged a special declaration of pecuniary interest and understand that it will be published in the minutes. I will remain at the meeting.
You're remaining in the session? Okay, thank you. Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to disclose a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest in item C2, transport-oriented development. I note, as I have in previous meetings, that my parents-in-law live within the state government's original Todd precinct, and that under council's proposal, they will have a minor decrease in FSR as part of the change. I don't benefit from this, and I will remain in the chambers for the meeting. I also note that I've made the relevant disclosures in the form, as I have in previous meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. General Manager, are there any conflict of interest declarations for staff?
Madam Mayor, there are no declarations for staff.
Thank you, General Manager. Are there any documents circulated in the Council's papers to be dealt with at the appropriate time during the meeting, which we refer to as the Greens?
Madam Mayor, there are quite a few documents. The first one is a mayoral minute, which is a Vale Graham Lewis, Distinguished Local Volunteer, dated 21 October 2025. There's also a confidential memo for GB12, Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme and Amended Affordable Housing Policy, circulated on the 14th of October. There's a confidential memo for GB13, Local Character Ku-ring-gai Development Control Plan Amendment, post-exhibition consideration of submissions, circulated on 14 October. There's a confidential memo for GB14, post-exhibition of planning proposal 5153 Raheny Street, Turramurra, circulated on 14 October 2025. There's a memo for GB11, policy updates, commercial leasing policy, acquisition and divestment of land policy, and easement management policy, circulated on 20 October 2025. There's a memo for GB14, post-exhibition of planning proposal 5153 Raheny Street, Turramurra, circulated on the 21st of October 2025. There's also councillors, council staff and Audit Risk and Improvement Committee members' disclosure of interest return forms as at 30 June 2025 that was circulated on the 15th of October 2025. There is also a late confidential item, C2 Land and Environment Court Transport Oriented Development SEP, dated 16 October 2025 with attachments.
Thank you, General Manager. Are there any reports to be considered in a closed meeting and not released to the press and public?
Madam Mayor, there are two reports. There is item C1, Land Acquisition, and item C2, Land and Environment Court Transport Oriented Development SEP.
Okay. Can I have a motion for those reports to remain in confidential? Moved by Councillor Balachandran, seconded by Councillor Wheatley. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We will now move on to confirmation of the minutes. And can I please get a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting? Moved by Councillor Wheatley, seconded by Councillor Balachandran. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We will now move on to the mayoral minute, which is a Vale for Graham Lewis, Distinguished Local Volunteer. So I will move that mayoral minute. Now I will read this mayoral minute. It is my sad duty to advise council in our community of the passing of Graham Lewis, who was well known in Ku-ring-gai for his long-standing contribution to the Ku-ring-gai Historical Society and other local community organisations. Born in Wellington, New Zealand in 1941, Graham moved to Sydney in the 1960s with his wife Isabel and settled in Lindfield. Graham has had a lifelong interest in genealogy and history. He was a long-time and enthusiastic member of the Society of Australian Genealogists, SAG, and was awarded a fellowship of the Society. Graham developed SAG's website, which won an international award, provided IT support, worked on the development and production of the CD of Rockwood burials and the Australian Genealogical Computer Index, AGCI. He was elected a Fellow of the Society of Australian Genealogists in 2003. In 2004, he joined the Ku-ring-gai Historical Society, KHS, and by 2014 became the Society's president, a position he held for 2 years. Aside from his historical and genealogical interests, Graham was a very active supporter and member of several Ku-ring-gai organisations, such as the Ku-ring-gai Preservation Trust, KPT, and Friends of Ku-ring-gai Environment, Inc., FOLK. He was founding secretary of the Gordon Park Probus Club, now closed, and treasurer of the Ku-ring-gai Neighbourhood Centre. According to FOLK President Kathy Cowley, who I can see in our audience today, Graham brought to the KPT unique technical and organisational skills, along with a wonderful wit, humour and team spirit at almost endless successions of council and community meetings. Aside from Graham's many voluntary roles, he was a keen stamp collector, a fellow of the New Zealand Institute of Management and of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Graham was the dearly loved husband of Isabel, Issy, and loving father and father-in-law of Robin, Susie and David Alicia, as well as being pop to his 3 grandchildren, Hayley, Oliver and Max. On behalf of Council and our community, I express my appreciation for Graham's contribution to Ku-ring-gai and our sincere condolences to his family and friends. The recommendation is A, that Council stands for a minute's silence in memory of Graham Lewis, and B, that a copy of this Merrill Minute be forwarded to Graham's family. I will move that Merrill Minute. Are there any speakers of councillors? Okay. If not, I will move that. We might as well vote on it and then we will do our minute silence. So all those in favour? That is unanimous. If I could get the councillors to stand for our minute silence as well as the staff. If we could all be seated. I will now move on to petitions. Have any petitions been received by councillors or staff? That looks like no petitions. I'd like to now invite councillors to nominate... Oh, Councillor Kim, okay. I'd like to invite councillors to nominate any item on the agenda that they wish to have a site inspection for. It looks like there's none. We'll move on now to general business, the items to be moved without debate. Can I please ask the councillor to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to adopt as per the officer's recommendation, allowing for minor changes without debate? Councillor Kim Wheatley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the following general business items for the October ordinary meeting of council as follows. GB2, GB3, GB5, GB6, GB8 through to 16 and C1. So to recap, that's 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 and C1.
Thank you. So Kim Wheatley is moving those items? Councillor Spencer?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
So without debate, I understand that Councillor Wheatley has included 12. So without debate, I'm happy to vote against that.
So you would like to withdraw?
Instead of withdrawing. Do we have to withdraw?
I would have to withdraw. Okay.
I can withdraw GB12 and we can vote on it separately.
Okay, we'll withdraw GB 12.
So shall I recap again?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
Okay.
One more.
Yep,
I have some questions on GB 14, so can you withdraw that one too, please?
sure, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go through this again. Withdrawing, so actually, no, yeah, what we're not, I'll just go through, sorry, what we're happy with. So GB 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15, 16, and C1. Anybody else got any?
All right, I'm just checking on C1 because there might be some additional attachments. So just one moment with that. So just in that interim, I will just double check with you, Councillor Spencer. So GB 12, which is the Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme. Okay.
Could I trouble Councillor Whitley to just to go through which one is withdrawn?
Yep, that's not
Just
a
to
problem.
be sure, sorry.
Yep.
So we're withdrawing from what my original
That's 11 that has a
one was, which I think I've already said. So we're going to withdraw from the original one is 12 and 14. So what we will be discussing is GB1, GB4, GB7, GB12,
Yes.
GB14, GB17, and C2.
Thank you.
GB 14.
I can clarify 11. So 11 is on the changes as per memo, or not, or you can withdraw it.
Okay, so just with GB 11, does that include the changes with the memo, Councillor Wheatley, that you're trying to move?
Correct.
Okay. So we will include that. Can you just now go through again the items that you're moving, and we'll have a seconder and we can move on from this.
Okay, here we go again. So the items that I am moving for the fourth time is GB2,
Yes.
GB3, GB5, GB6, GB8, GB9, GB10, GB11, GB13, GB15, GB16, and C1.
Okay, thank you.
I'll give
Now,
myself a
I have a seconder. I see Councillor Devlin is with his hand up. So all those in favour? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, so we have no notice of motion on the agenda, so we will move to general business. So we will start with the first item, which is GB1. Councillor Matt Devlin, are you moving GB1?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment to the recommendations for GB1.
So an alternate
An
motion?
alternate motion, thank
Okay,
you.
if you don't mind, has that been submitted to governance?
It
We
has
can-
been submitted to governance. They have a copy up on screen, and for those who have not yet had an opportunity to review it, I will read
Yes,
it.
can you please read that out? Thank you. And seconded, I see, by Councillor Alec Taylor.
I seek, Madam Mayor, to move the amendment for the recommendations of GB1, Ku-ring-gai Traffic Committee minutes, meeting 27th of August 2025. There are no changes through parts A, B and C, so I will omit from reading those. There are some changes with the inclusion of the following. D, that Council establish the local traffic forum as an advisory forum only and confirm that all decisions to regulate traffic or install prescribed traffic control devices under the 2025 instrument on local roads are reserved to Council unless expressly delegated. Council will consider LTF advice before determining any such matter. This reflects Transport for New South Wales their own document from 2025, the instrument and guidance. My apologies there. I've got some handwritten notes over my prepared remarks. Part E, that council staff prepare a tiered decision-making framework and associated delegations identifying those matters to be reserved to council and those to be delegated to the General Manager, and incorporate this framework into the local transport forum terms of reference. The draft framework and delegations are to be reported to council for consideration and final determination by December of this year. F, that LTF agendas, minutes and officer determinations under delegation be published on the council's website within 10 business days with a plain English decision note and plans. G, in line with Part E, that the General Manager consider and report back on establishing a quarterly network impacts dashboard to councillors summarising delegated decisions, observed traffic and safety outcomes, and any statement of concern issued by Transport for New South Wales. And finally, Part H, that a review of the implementation and effectiveness of recommendations D through G be undertaken 12 months following their commencement with the local transport forum to consider the outcomes of that review and provide advice to council on any amendments or improvements deemed appropriate.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. As we've already had Councillor Taylor second, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The intent of this motion is straightforward. It is to ensure that Ku-ring-gai Council retains oversight and accountability for local traffic decisions that affect our residents every day. Transport for New South Wales has issued a new 2025 authorisation and delegations instrument. Under this new framework, the local traffic committee, as we've known, ceases to exist. In its place comes the local transport forum, an advisory body only. It can provide input and technical advice, but it no longer carries any delegated authority. That means, in effect, council now decides where to draw the line between what is determined by elected representatives and what can be delegated to staff. And that's what these amendments seek to do. Firstly, Clause D reaffirms that the Transport Forum is advisory only and that final decision-making rests with council and not solely with staff. This ensures that the community's representatives remain ultimately accountable for decisions on local roads, parking and traffic matters. References made in Clause E incorporate the opportunity for staff to prepare a clear tiered decision-making framework distinguishing between those matters which will be reserved for council and those which may be delegated by the General Manager. This framework will come back to us for final determination before the end of the year, giving the community and everyone in this chamber confidence and transparency over matters relating to transport and traffic in the LGA. The remaining clauses strengthen public visibility and oversight. They require that the local transport forum minutes and delegated decisions be published within 10 days and that council receive a quarterly dashboard summarising delegated actions, statements of concern from Transport for New South Wales and any impacts of the implemented traffic changes. Again, this ensures transparency and early detection of trends and issues. And the final clause provides for a formal review 12 months after the implementation so that council can assess what's working, what isn't, and refine the framework accordingly. These changes are not seeking to add bureaucracy. In fact, they restore some balance. The amendments acknowledge that while our professional staff bring valuable expertise and acknowledge that professional staff bring valued expertise along with other experts on the traffic forum, it is ultimately the councillors themselves who have that lived experience in the community, and we are the ones who see and hear about the impact of these traffic decisions every day. So whether it's a dangerous intersection, marked parking controls or congestion caused by a well-intentioned but poorly considered sign, this is about providing oversight to this body and public oversight to the community about what's going on. This amendment ensures that the technical advice continues to flow, and I think that's critical, but that the final call remains with those who are democratically accountable to the community. And on that basis, I commend the amendment to the Chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Councillor Alec Taylor, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just briefly, I'd like to thank Councillor Devlin for his research and work on this important matter. His recommendation represents good governance and transparency for council, which is vital, and it has my full support.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Are there any other speakers? No? If not, I will put GB1, which is the Ku-ring-gai Traffic Committee minutes of meeting 27th August 2025, to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Devlin, Councillor Nye, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Smith, Councillor Kay. Those against? Councillor Pettit, Councillor Spencer, and Councillor Ward. Sorry, I did exclude you. Are you for? Oh, did she? Okay. So Councillor Ward is also for. The votes being 8-2, that is carried. We will now move on to GB4, which is the exhibition of revised delivery program and operational plan and resourcing strategy to incorporate a special rate variation. I do have an alternate motion, so I will just get that put up on the screen, if I may. Okay, I'll just give councillors a couple of minutes to read that. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
And if I could have a seconder, seconded by Councillor Sam Nye. So I will just speak on GB4. Fellow councillors and members of the community, tonight we are being asked to make a decision that goes beyond figures and spreadsheets. It's about the long-term well-being of Ku-ring-gai. The special rate variation before us is not a decision any of us take lightly, and it's a complex one. It's involved months of community consultation, financial modelling, and careful thought about how we can balance costs with community benefit. In all honesty, this is probably one of the hardest decisions I've had to make since being elected 7 years ago. It's worth noting that the last time ratepayers were asked to pay over and above the CPI increase for infrastructure was in 2009, when we introduced a new facilities levy to pay for badly needed upgrades to sports fields, the Ku-ring-gai Fitness and Aquatic Centre at West Pymble and the North Turramurra Recreation Area. In the last few years, the cost of maintaining and renewing our local infrastructure has risen sharply. Like every household, council faces increasing costs for construction, insurance and materials. Our roads, footpaths, playgrounds, sports field, libraries and community buildings are the things that make Ku-ring-gai such a wonderful place to live. But they also require significant ongoing investment. If we don't act now, we risk falling behind in maintaining and upgrading those assets. The special rate variation gives us a responsible and planned way to protect essential services, manage our increasing population and keep Ku-ring-gai moving forward. This is about safeguarding what our community values most: well-maintained parks, community facilities and a clean, green environment. It is about ensuring our facilities are fit for purpose for the next generation. We've already tightened our belts and found efficiencies wherever we can, but the gap between rising costs and limiting income can no longer be closed without action. IPART has recognised that councils across New South Wales face this same challenge, and the special rate variation process exists for exactly these circumstances. We've listened to residents throughout the consultation process, and accountability and transparency will remain at the heart of any future decision to increase rates. IPART will also conduct their own due diligence on any proposal we put forward to them. This is not about short-term gain, it's about securing Ku-ring-gai's future. Supporting this variation means protecting the services, open spaces and community facilities that define our area. It's a tough decision, but the right one for the long-term well-being of our community. Thank you. Councillor Sam Nye, being the seconder, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I speak with qualified support for a special rate variation of 24.6%. Council's financial circumstances have changed dramatically in 10 years. Our population grew 7%, but the state government hasn't included a population growth factor to cover
Councillor
increase-
Knight, just to interrupt, can you maybe speak a little bit louder and start from the beginning, if that's okay?
All right, I'll just be super
Yeah,
close to
I
the
know
mic.
it's, yeah.
Yep, all right. I speak with qualified support for a special rate variation of 24.6. The state rate peg, council's rates increased 28% over 10 years, less than the 31% CPI and far below the 37% construction and 55% building price indexes. Given council's heavy exposure to building and construction costs, our purchasing power has quickly diminished. In setting the rate peg, the state also assumes that infrastructure costs almost nothing to repair, yet our aging stormwater pipes and buildings require increased maintenance at end of life. Like apartments with sinking funds and special levies, option 2 ensures our assets remain fit for service. I'd also note the state government's cost shift, which detriments the council by $13.3 million per year, and the state's Section 7.24 housing contribution, which taxes Ku-ring-gai residents $500 million over 2 decades and reinvests in Western Sydney. Council is left to fill the gap in local infrastructure with money that it doesn't have. Council has responded by becoming the second leanest metro council for staff per capita. As for further efficiencies, limited low-yield options remain without drastically cutting services, increasing rates, or both. I've personally been frustrated by the SRV process to date because it hasn't fully communicated the seriousness of our financial situation, leading to ill-informed resident surveys and submissions. Residents advocating option 1 may not realise that maintaining ageing infrastructure is mandatory, with option 2 showing that we require an additional $12.6 million per year to cover the gap. Like North Sydney, the reality of option 1 is that we'd have to make drastic changes. We would have to cut all social services for elderly, youth and disadvantaged groups, close all 4 libraries and the arts, cease community events, install parking meters across town centres and charge families for access to open space. Even with all these changes in place, we wouldn't reach the annual $12.6 million needed to maintain our ageing infrastructure. We also haven't adequately communicated our extensive efficiency initiatives, with very little remaining to cover the $12.6 million annual infrastructure shortfall. Though well-meaning residents make grandiose claims, the structural underfunding of this scale coming from the state's historical rate pegs cannot be fully solved by efficiencies or one-off asset sales. Additionally, the benefits of options 3 and 4 haven't been clearly explained to date. Residents see these as investments in 1 or 2 major assets that they won't use, rather than hyperlocal infrastructure upgrades improving traffic, walkability, access to amenities, and quality of life. When I talk to residents, they complain about traffic issues near town centres, at Bobbin Head Road and Eastern Road, the lack of footpaths and tree pruning creating safety issues across the LGA. I've advocated for the creation of an unfunded infrastructure list for the last 2 years, and I'm glad that an early version is now available as part of attachment A8. However, I do wish that this list had been created earlier so that residents could see what's in it for them and make a more informed decision. In supporting this option, which is between 2 and 3, I call it option 2.5, I note that the representative survey showed majority support for a special rate variation despite suboptimal communications to date. However, option 3 lacked majority support, hence this middle option, which maintains infrastructure standards while providing strategically selected quality of life improvements. I want residents to know that we have heard their safety and accessibility concerns, and that if an SRV is approved, I hope to work constructively with residents and councillors to prioritise and deliver these outcomes.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move an amendment to this.
Do the staff have the
Staff.
amendment? Okay, if I could just wait while we put that up on the screen. Is there any way we can enlarge that slightly? That's it, that's fantastic. Do you want to read it or do you just want to give us a few moments to
Yes,
read it?
well, I might just give you let me give you a few moments and then
Okay.
it might not make sense.
And then
without
I
me
will ask
explain
for
it.
a seconder and we'll
Yeah.
come back. Okay, so is there a seconder for this amendment? Oh, Councillor Ward is the seconder. Okay, so back to you, Councillor Balachandra.
Thank you. I'll just begin by explaining the mild changes. So I support, Madam Mayor, your arguments and Councillor Nye's. The only difference is in this I have added the cultural asset that was in the SRV in option 4, that is the rebuild of the Marion Street Arts Centre. And how that has been done is through removing 1.52 million from the buildings component. The Marion Street asset is a building. And removing 1.46 million from new footpaths for a period of 6 years. It then reverts to 2.1 million, after which time the St Ives Indoor Sports Centre levy is transferred to pay off Marion Street Theatre, because that sports centre loan would have been paid off after that point. Can I speak to this?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, no worries, that's fine.
So I was recently invited to perform the Veena, which is my instrument for a production for the Sydney Fringe Festival. It was a story of a woman, a mother, in a situation of domestic and family violence. Some of you might know I'm a musician, I'm also an accountant, it happens. It was ticketed, it ran over 4 nights, it made money, and it offered over 600 audience members an opportunity to see and hear and feel a South Asian story. And it could not be done in Ku-ring-gai because we have nowhere to show it. It went to Lane Cove's Pottery Lane, and the residents of Lane Cove I met were thrilled, and the residents of Ku-ring-gai who came wondered why it could not be done more centrally. 1 in 2 Ku-ring-gai residents actively participate in the arts, according to federal government statistics. That is a potential user group of 60,000 people in Ku-ring-gai. We have 1 arts centre for these 60,000 people, which is not a performance space and which is bursting at the seams. Let's also remember 1 in 3 residents were willing to pay the highest rates option to have arts infrastructure. No other category in that list has explicit evidence of this level of support, and more would have supported the arts if it had been included in a lower cost option. Council has received submissions from so many organisations in the arts and from so many residents. Dance One, North Shore Theatre Company, Sanskriti School of Indian Arts, Chalice Singers, Humming Song Choirs, Sing Australia, Kalara Music Club, MSTYP, Old Fitz Theatre, creative residents from Showtime Productions, Opera Australia, Vivid Sydney, Ku-ring-gai Orchestra, Youth Orchestra and the Philharmonic, and more than 300 individuals writing letter after letter. I went through the submissions and I'd like to read you some of the quotes. As a community singing organisation based in Gordon, we have struggled to find a suitable centre locally for us to perform concerts. And then, the reinstatement should be funded as a contribution to the welfare of ratepayers, just as is done by the funding of numerous sporting and leisure facilities throughout the LGA. And then, we have no spaces for our kids to express themselves creatively. Why is this? Sports are important, as is creative expression. This is my favourite. This is a bit harsh. It's time this cultural desert started to reflect the interest and talent of this area. Please stop talking and start delivering. I remember taking my grandkids there 40 years ago and would love to take my grandkids. The theatre provided an outlet for many public schools in the area. Private schools have their own facilities. Public schools don't. And then, investing in the arts shows young people like myself that the world cares about what we have to say and provides ways to say it. I spend thousands of dollars going to other councils at their venues every year when I should be spending some of this locally. My son with a disability has been at Marion Street for 7 years. His confidence and communication skills have grown and he can socialise with similar people with disability. He will be able to travel independently from Killara Station because of the wonderful location. These are just some of the many, many statements. The solution we have for cultural infrastructure is ready and can be completed in our term. The Marion Street Arts Centre may not be a perfect solution, but it is a good solution, and it is here. Ku-ring-gai does not need a large professional concourse-like space. According to the community consultation done for many years, we need a versatile, local community arts centre that activates local artists, culturally diverse art forms, young people and audiences. It is not just a theatre. The name is actually a misnomer. It provides 6 spaces, a large auditorium, a small theatrette, a rehearsal chamber space, a flexible community space, a future outdoor amphitheatre in the park, a cafe, and an exhibition space. The architects described the vision of the new centre as a community living room, a place that is open as needed and always active, welcoming a variety of live performances and media and diverse audiences, inviting the community to interact. No other space in Ku-ring-gai does this. So let me point out again, we have 1 art space in our entire council area. We have 60,000 potential users and 15,000 1 in 3 ratepayers willing to pay for everything else in the SRV, I'm nearly done, to get the arts option. How can we justify ignoring this? And if we don't do this now, there is nothing else in the pipeline. And at the rate local governments move, there is another 15 years of nothing for the 60,000 Ku-ring-gai residents. We're also going to see a huge increase in residents because of the TOD. I'm putting forward this motion to strongly support a rates increase that includes 1 art space to bring us to a grand total of 2 art spaces in Ku-ring-gai. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. I'll just go over to Councillor Ward as the seconder of the amendment. Would you like to speak, Councillor Ward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now I'll reserve my right. Thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you've got a very croaky voice. Okay, I will now move to Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm speaking in favour of this amendment. Ku-ring-gai is chronically underserved for facilities for the arts. The Marion Street Theatre site in Kalara could be a great destination for the arts in Ku-ring-gai. We have an opportunity to rebuild it now, create a modern, accessible and attractive space for the arts. And for that, I support this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Spencer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mayor, councillors, the matter before us, the service review and proposed special rate variation is not about politics or administrative convenience. It concerns our duty as custodians of Ku-ring-gai's civic estate to act prudently in securing the long-term financial sustainability of this council and services on which our residents depend. The reality we face, the evidence is comprehensive. Across attachments 1 to 9, the conclusion is unmistakable. The cost of maintaining our roads, drainage, community buildings and open spaces is rising faster than our revenue, which remains capped by the state pegging system. The 2025-26 rate pack, as set by IPART, lies between 4 and 5% for most councils, while the cost of construction, labor and materials continues to rise well above that. For years, we have absorbed those pressures through internal reforms and efficiency savings, around 2.3 million annually, but efficiency alone can no longer sustain service quality or infrastructure safely. Now, without corrective action, our assets renewal ratio will fall below 0.07, and our operating result will move into structural deficit by 2028. This means roads unrepaired, drainage neglected, and community facilities steadily deteriorating. That is not speculation, it is confirmed by our own long-term financial modeling. Now, what the proposal actually does tonight, we are not voting to increase rates immediately. We are deciding whether to put whether to apply to IPART for approval to implement an SRV from 1st July 2026, following public exhibition and independent review. Now, the proposal, 6% per year for 4 years, in addition to the additional rate pack, would generate the revenue needed to restore financial balance and fund essential renewal projects without additional borrowing. Now, under this scenario, our key financial ratios return to compliance, and Council maintains a healthy liquidity position. Crucially, the SRV will be ring-fenced. Every dollar raised will be dedicated to infrastructure renewal and reported through an online transparency dashboard subject to annual audit. Now, the choice before us this evening, A, we may vote for the SRV submission outright, accept the professional evidence, uphold fiscal sustainability, and rely on the governance framework already established, that CORS supports the data and secures our infrastructure for the longer term. Or B, we may vote against it. A principal objection based on affordability or timing. That concern is understandable. Households are under pressure, yet opposing the proposal without an alternative funding plan simply defers the problem, leaving future councils to face a larger backlog for greater costs. Now, C, vote for, subject to clearly evidenced protection. Now, the third option is, in my view, the most responsible one, and only if it can be evidenced by accountability. Following this, I have a few questions.
Yeah, you've still got 46 seconds
Sorry?
left.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, protections in place. In other words, my support depends on Council's demonstrated commitment to transparency, financial discipline, and community safeguards, and ensure the SRV is delivered exactly as promised. Now, together, these protections ensure transparency, discipline, and fairness. They transform this proposal from a rate rise into a contract of accountability between Council and its community. So Attachment 7 already provides for quarterly reporting, annual report, and midterm evaluation. By embedding those safeguards directly in our resolution, we make them binding.
Have you got much to go,
accordingly, that
Councillor?
is-
Have you got much to go? Otherwise, I can request maybe an extension of a minute.
I've just got 2 more paragraphs.
Okay, that's
Is it
fine.
all right?
Yep.
So now, Ku-ring-gai, this is very important. Ku-ring-gai Council remains one of the most efficiently managed councils in New South Wales. Benchmarking in Attachment 8 confirms we deliver better services at lower cost than our metropolitan peers. So the proposal does not reward inefficiency, it preserves performance. So that is my speech for supporting this motion, and I have questions.
So you're supporting the amendment? You're speaking for the amendment, or you're speaking against?
Actually, against the amendment, but
For the original.
just to be clear,
Okay, yeah,
the amendment is very similar to the first one.
yeah, with
So there's
addition
no
of the
relevance.
theatre. Yeah.
I can support the amendment. I'm not speaking against this amendment. I'm happy to support it as well.
Okay.
But I have a few questions, if I may.
Yeah, and you're aware that this amendment includes the Marion Street Theatre?
I understand, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I understand. So now, I said in my speech earlier that Attachment 7 contains those few things. I have just a few concerns for a yes vote from me and to the relevant officer. The annual SRV performance report, are there any detailed funding expenditures and projects that will be publicly tabled every year or published on Council's website?
So I'll just put this through the General Manager, who can either take it or the Corporate Director.
Thank you,
may
Madam Mayor.
answer.
The Director Corporate will respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we have to, as part of IPART, if the SRV is approved, as part of the IPART issues an instrument which we have to comply with, and we have to report on a yearly basis on the delivery of the SRV.
Thank you. Second question, dedicated SRV dashboard, we have that. Do we? A real-time, publicly accessible online tracker showing projects and progress and expenditure updates? Do we
Madam Mayor,
have?
we currently don't have a live dashboard, but we will work towards developing one to make sure that we can report in one way or another, at least as part of quarterly budget reviews.
So we currently don't have that in our.
We don't have a live dashboard that,
I understand.
but we, yeah.
So what about pensioner and hardship policy review? Do we have any way that we can assess those and be more flexible in their payment options and so on?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, Council currently has a policy which addresses the outstanding rates and financial hardship. In fact, the policy, the revised policy, a revision of that policy will come to Council in the next month, and that addresses instances of financial hardship, gives flexible payment arrangements, and that's what we would be looking at in terms of vulnerable or ratepayers that suffers financial hardship.
There's an assessment criteria.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Just a couple more questions, if I may.
That's okay.
Now, independent midterm review, do we have that? Let's say to be commissioned by 2028 or somewhere.
Madam Mayor, through you, at the moment, the review processes include our service review processes, the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee internal audits. They're the current independent reviews as well as annual external audits.
So just to be clear, so so those things like the delivery of the specific items that the SRV is for, will that be included in that review, or do we have a separate one?
Well, Councillor, so there's the annual reporting on the SRV projects. So in each year we would report on delivery of the projects funded by the special rate variation.
So I'm sorry, I just needed to clarify. So like, for instance, when we see or when ratepayers see the report, they will know which one is the standard one, assuming, and then which one is the SRV part. They'll be segregated?
Yeah. I'll just get the Director Corporate to clarify, Councillor.
Yes, so we will have a separate section which identifies funding from an SRV only. So we will list every project that's funded from special rate variation.
All right, and audit and risk oversight, and we have that in the audit and risk committee. Do they look at SRV as well?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The audit and risk committee, they look at reports that we table to council, and we discuss that at the audit and risk committee. So they look at our quarterly budget review. They look at our delivery program and operational plan.
I understand. I'm concerned, like specifically for the SRV part. Do we submit that to them, and then they would know that this is SRV, for instance?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And just two more questions. So there's no diversion of funds. Is it ring-fenced for the SRV? Like, for instance, they are specifically for whatever that is approved. Is there a diversion of funds?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no. The SRV funds are specifically ring-fenced for the purposes for which they're raised.
Right. So just a final question. So community reaffirmation, any future extension for variation to require fresh community consultation and public reporting before submission to IPART, is that correct? I believe that is correct. but I just needed a confirmation.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I understand correctly, so if council was to adopt a version of this tonight, it would go on exhibition, it would come back in December, and council at that point gets to make a decision about whether it wishes to proceed and at what level. Then
I understand. So if there's a variation to that, there'll be a fresh consultation?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, there would not be time for further consultation because the application needs to be submitted to IPART by February. So if you wanted to consult again, you would really need to defer it by a year.
So the difficulty, the challenge that we face right now is that we don't know if, say for instance, whatever is approved tonight, it goes to IPART and then it comes back. And then council could amend that without further consultation.
Through you, Madam Mayor, it doesn't go to IPART until February. So if council makes a decision tonight, it is only to put it on.
Much.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Councillor Matt Devlin. Oh, Councillor Spencer, have you finished? You've still got your light on. Okay, Councillor Devlin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be brief, but I want to be very clear. And whilst I appreciate the work that Councillor Balachandran has put into this amendment, I will not be supporting this amendment. It represents a material and substantive change from what Council has taken to the community through the special rate variation consultation process. In June 2025, this Council endorsed commencing a community engagement strategy on 4 rate rise options, including 3 options which involved a special rate variation component above the base rate peg. Comprehensive community engagement activities were undertaken during July through September in line with that resolution. The SRV was presented, explained and consulted on as a plan to restore Council's financial sustainability, to maintain existing assets and to address the backlog of core infrastructure like general building renewals, footpaths, stormwater and road services. Residents responded in their thousands and have told us overwhelmingly that they expect this SRV to fix the basics: roads, footpaths, drainage and to renew existing operational community assets. Those were the priorities that earned the support through consultation. Shifting money from those areas to a single project, however worthy, is not what the community has agreed to fund. The amendment calls for a $30.4 million loan over 20 years and an ongoing annual $700,000 operational subsidy for Marion Street Theatre, neither of which were included in the financial modelling in option 3, which was the staff's recommendation in tonight's report. The amendment seeks to divert $2.98 million per year from the staff recommended SRV option, a funding allocation originally designated for general building renewals and for the new footpaths I mentioned earlier. In other discussions, it has been suggested that developer contributions could be used to fund new footpaths instead of relying on this SRV, and I again highlight the $2.98 million. The problem with that approach is that suburbs not earmarked for significant future development, unlike those affected by the TODSEP, will never generate enough contributions to deliver this essential infrastructure. I think of suburbs like North Warunga, North Turramurra, Warunga proper. We've got South Turramurra and West Pymble, to name a few. In other words, without the SRV, large parts of Ku-ring-gai would simply miss out on even the most basic improvements. On the matter of the TODSEP, and given that Linfield and Gordon are carrying the brunt of the forecast population growth, it's time we got serious about funding genuine investment in arts, cultural recreation, exhibition and performance spaces across the LGA. Killara, much like Warrawee, has no true town centre. The land adjacent to the rail corridor represents prime real estate for residential renewal. Rather than clinging to an outdated, disconnected facility at Killara, why not divest the site, realise its value and reinvest those funds in creating at least 2 new fit-for-purpose cultural recreation assets in both Linfield and Gordon, where people will live, move and gather. It's time to stop pouring money into nostalgia and start investing in the kind of accessible, modern and vibrant spaces that will actually serve the community for the next 50 years. Whilst I respect the intent to strengthen cultural infrastructure in this amendment, while I respect the intent is to strengthen cultural infrastructure investment. This amendment departs fundamentally from what was taken to the community for this option. 70% of resident respondents chose to reject funding a new capital project in Marion Street. Redirecting funds to Marion Street now would invalidate the consultation, breach community trust and compromise our credibility with IPART. For those reasons, I cannot support the amendment as it stands.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Councillor Balachandran, do you have some questions? Yep, no worries. Councillor Devlin, you've still got your light on. Thank you.
Just to double check what Councillor Devlin has said, questions to the staff through you, Madam Mayor. Was the inclusion of the cultural asset included in the consultation as an option?
We'll refer that to the General Manager or the Director of Corporate, either.
Oh, Madam Mayor, I think I can answer. Yes, it was. It was part of option 4.
Did it receive around a third of the community's support, despite it being the highest rates option?
I'll refer that to the Director Corporate, Madam Mayor.
So, through you, Madam Mayor. So, through the representative survey, the option 4 received 28% support.
Thank you. And what's the purpose of our consultation to date to find the right option, even if it was a hybrid option, which is what we've done now? Sorry, okay, let me rephrase that. What's the purpose of the consultation? It didn't necessarily have to land on one of those exact options. The council had the freedom to choose something in between or something related to the consultation.
That's correct, Councillor, yes.
Thank you. How many dwellings are we going to have has the Todd got in Killara?
Refer that to the Director of Strategy and Environment.
Director of Strategy and Environment.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Off the top of my head, it's about 2,500.
And where will the village centre be in your kind of master planning intent?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Killara is a bit of a hybrid because there really isn't a centre. So there's a little bit focused on Marion Street near the train station, and then again on the highway, largely on the other side of the road opposite the Ku-ring-gai Hotel.
Thank you.
South.
And how long? So if this cultural asset doesn't get built, just to respond to Councillor Devlin's offer of finding somewhere else to put a cultural asset, I'm just interested. How long will it take, given how we get assets in place and capital works in place, to get another cultural asset in place? Do you think it will be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Do we have anything in the pipeline?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's a bit hard for me to speculate on that one.
Do we have anything in the pipeline other than Marion Street rebuild for cultural assets?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we don't even have Marion Street in the pipeline.
Right, it is in the long-term financial plan.
Funded in the long-term financial plan.
Are there any other unfunded cultural assets in the long-term financial plan?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there would be a facility on this site.
Oh, okay. And how long typically, would you have any sense, when was the last time we did a redevelopment that is being planned for this site? When was the last one we did in Ku-ring-gai for that size and scale?
The only comparable would be the Linfield Village Hub, and councillors are all familiar with how long that's taken.
It's not up yet.
Correct.
And how long, when did it start, the discussions on that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, 2011, 2012.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question to you through you to the relevant director. I'll just call what we've discussed tonight as two options. There's option A, which was the original motion, and there's option B, which is the amendment we're discussing tonight. Now, they're both quite similar, and I have no idea which one will go through if either does. But if for example, we endorse option B tonight, then as part of this next round of consultation, is it foreseeable that there could be a series of events where we end up with option A in December and vice versa? So if we end up with option A and then there's a lot of community support for a theatre, is it feasible that we end up with an option B in December, or is it basically whatever we propose tonight then is locked in and it's the only option to be considered in December.
So Councillor Nye, you're asking, can it change, the pathway change after the 28 days of public
Yeah,
exhibition?
can the pathway change, or for example, if we presented both options at this point, could we land on one option in December? I don't know the technicalities. I don't normally deal with SRVs.
Are you asking if we can have an amendment with 2 options to go on public
That's
exhibition?
sort of I'd prefer not to. I'd prefer to just get feedback on one particular option, whichever one it is, and then
Okay.
see if we can change path in December. But just want to
We will
clarify
just double
with the
check
general
the-
manager
yep.
and director of corporate whether that would be accepted if we
General
went with option
Manager,
A and then adopting
do you have
B
a
or
response for
B
that?
and then A.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we're just discussing that.
Won't be long, they're just checking for you,
Right, thank
Councillor
you.
Nye.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we're just conferring about the complexities of trying to exhibit 2 suites of planning documents and whether that would be legitimate.
Oh, can you just speak up? Sorry, General Manager.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience, Madam Mayor.
Okay. If you could just speak up, General Manager, if you don't mind.
Yes. Councillor, we think procedurally that you could do that you could exhibit 2 versions. However, it would add complexity to the documents to have 2 versions, as well as that we've only got about 5 days to prepare all the documents to put on exhibition in order to get back to the December council meeting. It's going to be tight anyway, just with one version, because the versions that are before us today aren't the versions that we reported on. So we would have to come back with somehow in 5 days do it, which would be very tight. Doing 2 might be even tighter. If we didn't make that time frame, then we'd probably miss the December council meeting, which might mean an extraordinary meeting if it came down to it, which is possible. It's up to councillors.
Okay, thank you. I would now like to speak to this motion, this alternate motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
So thank you for hearing me out. I am quite sympathetic with what's proposed, both options A and B land at the same special rate variation of 24.6. The only difference is option A prioritises repairing all buildings and providing more footpaths, especially those to the north and on the fringes, whereas option B prioritises Marion Street Theatre, which I do care about and I would like to see built under the right circumstances. Part of the challenge, though, is that funding is quite tight. I know some people are sick of hearing that, but funding is quite tight. What we've presented to the public isn't quite what we've got here. I am aware of, based on my own conversations, that there are other opportunities for the arts that are coming up. For example, I recall a motion maybe a year and 3 months ago, a year and 4 months ago, something like that, where Councillor Greg Taylor at the time was critical in creating the potential for a space for the arts in Turramurra with about 400 square metres. I think if we think creatively, there will be other opportunities further down the line where, you know, if we care about the arts, we can do it in a way that makes a lot of sense. I think also back, I've lost track of the years now, maybe 5 years ago, where we had a facility in East Linfield with about 300 square metres of usable space. It was at the end of its useful life. The roof was leaking, it was falling apart. We had budgeted $2 million to repair that. And I had proposed, look, what if we knock down, rebuild the whole thing, build something 3 times the size, usable space, have it as multifunction facilities, not just for community groups, but also for the arts. It'll only cost $5 million, so only $3 million more pre-COVID. And the council at the time shot it down, including Councillor Chateau, which I was disappointed by. Because if that had happened, we'd have space for the arts right now, multiple spaces. But I just think we need to think creatively. That we do have an aging building asset, portfolio. The solution may not necessarily be to fix every particular one. There may be knockdown rebuild opportunities where it may cost more, may cost less, but we get more benefit out of it. There may be creative opportunities with developers as they come up with new planning proposals to create new spaces for the arts, just like what Councillor Greg Taylor secured for us previously. And look, in the spirit of following the process, I would prefer to to vote against this particular one and vote in support of option A instead, noting though that it does mean for the next 2 months we'll get a lot of submissions in support of the arts.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. Councillor Matt Devlin.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I've got a couple of questions. I would imagine the first few through you to the Director of Corporate. The first question is, was Marion Street Theatre included in option 4 for the SRV consultation?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes.
Was Marion Street Theatre included in option 3 SRV?
Through you, Madam Mayor. No.
Is the staff recommendation option 3?
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, through you, I suggest probably to the Director of Operations. I note that there are some 510 footpaths, and I preference that. It may be either the Director of Operations or the Director of Environment and Strategy. I note that there are some 17 pages listing 510 separate footpaths as a part of the potential scope of works as associated with this SRV. Given that areas like Comonaro or Warringah Ward don't have the potential for such significant, at this stage, such significant development uplift, therefore restricted in its potential receipt of developer contributions, what would be the legacy, what would be the impact of ripping out the better part of $1.5 million annually from the footpath rollout through the whole of the LGA, but specifically with relation to Warringah Ward or Comonaro Ward?
That's a very long question, Councillor Devlin, but I will refer that to the Director of Operations.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that amount of funding decrease would have a significant impact on the overall program and the acceleration that we're hoping for, specifically for those 2 wards that you've nominated or asked for. I don't have that detail at the moment.
Thank you, Director. Madam Mayor, on a similar topic, but probably the second half of that question, maybe through you to the Director of Strategy and Environment. What is the likely impact of developer contributions in Gordon Ward and Roseville Ward versus those wards that are not going to receive as greater developer contributions when it comes to potentially the rollout of such funding?
Director of Strategy.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think we might go back to the first question, which was only partially answered, I think. Council does not take developer contributions for footpaths at all.
Right.
Developers may be asked as a condition of development consent to do footpaths adjoining their site. But going to your second question, there will be substantial amounts of money generated from developer contributions from the 2 wards. Over time, it would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and there generally has to be a nexus between the facilities or the infrastructure that's provided and the location in which things are built. You know, some facilities might apply across the whole of the local government area, but others would certainly have to show what's called a nexus. So you wouldn't see large amounts of money going to non-TOD related locations, no.
Thanks, Director. I think that answered my question. Madam Mayor, through you, one final question I suggest back to the Director of Operations. Given we've got decades worth of significant infrastructure backlog, basic significant infrastructure backlog, such as footpaths and drainage and the like, we have decades of a footpath rollout program. What would be the impact, do you think, in years of this amendment?
Director of Operations.
Through you, Madam Mayor, it varies from asset category, but specifically on footpaths, it would impact the rollout of the new footpaths and bring in the intention of new footpath per side of per street. It would probably delay it by a few decades.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you. I have 2 questions, actually. Councillor Devlin raised a really interesting question, which I think the community is also a little confused about, and it's probably to the Director of Strategy. Can council staff clarify if developer contributions can be used to rebuild Marion Street?
Does the Director of Strategy, would you like to take that, or do I pass that on to? Yeah, okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor, developer contributions as a general rule are not for asset renewal or asset maintenance. So this project has always had large amounts of non-developer contributions attached to it. There are a few new assets technically built into the funding mix, as well as the integration with the Streetscape Works and Selkirk Park. But substantially, this is not a project that could be funded by developer contributions now.
Thank you. Can you also clarify if developer contributions can be used for cultural buildings or community buildings?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there is still some debate about what forms the essential works list, and cultural facilities was one of the things that is still in debate.
Okay.
That said, there's also a limited pie which is available to developer contributions, so within that pie, individual councils will make different allocation decisions.
I'll just take it as the cultural assets are unlikely to be funded by developer contributions based on that response. My next question is to possibly the Director of Operations. Given the footpaths budget for new footpaths has been delayed by 6 years, how is it that the footpath schedule is now delayed by decades?
Director of Operations.
Through you, Madam Mayor, on current funding levels, to get a new footpath on one side of Per Street is estimated to be about 2082 or something like that. With the injection of funding as recommended, it would bring it forward to about 2045. So with the difference in injection of funding, my estimation today would be a few decades. It'll
So we
extend
go
out.
back to 2080 by delaying 7 years?
No, my clarification would be if it goes back 7 years, it would delay it by at least a decade or two.
Okay, thank you.
I've just got the General Manager would like to make a comment on that too, Councillor Balachandran.
I think it's okay. I just wasn't sure if the Director, given that he's only just seen these numbers, perhaps in the first instance he didn't fully appreciate that it was 1.46 million for 7 years, but it sounds as though you've resolved it. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Devlin. More
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
questions?
Yeah, just one. It was curiosity following one of the responses from our Director of Strategy and Environment, who noted that the contributions can't be used to fund renewal or maintenance. Can they be used to develop a standalone new project?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if that project is built into a developer contributions plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Do we have any more speakers on the amendment? Okay, if we don't, just check. No, none online. Okay, all those in favour of the amendment, I have Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Taylor and Councillor Ward. All those against? Councillor Pettit, Councillor Spencer, Councillor Devlin, Councillor Nye, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Smith, Councillor Kay. The majority being against. We will go back to the original motion. Okay. Okay. Do we have any further speakers that would like to speak on the original motion? I've just got a question. Okay, and this would either be for the General Manager or the Director of Corporate. Why is the full rate peg of 4.4 beneficial to Council, and what can this be used for? You know, what flexibility is there in the 4.4 rate peg?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. The rates peg amount, as distinct from the special rates variation amount, can be spent on all of the services, maintenance, etc., other than in the special rates variation. So all of the services we provide, as well as to cover cost increases, labour increases, materials and contracts escalation. So it's actually, it's been mentioned tonight by some of the councillors that Ku-ring-gai actually has less revenue per capita than most other councils, and at the same time we have quite a large LGA to look after. So it's actually a struggle just to adequately service the day-to-day services and cover the cost increases. I think one of the councillors actually mentioned that we're going backwards, and that is certainly the case. And that's without considering increasing service levels. There's many areas that councillors and indeed the community would like to see improvements in and increases in services, whether it be the condition of our ovals, parks, streets, running events, customer service, digital services, compliance services, tree management and compliance. They're all areas that are not funded by, well, should be funded by the rates peg, but there's not adequate funding there to allow for it. So that's an overview about why the rates peg is required for non-SRV purposes.
Thank you, General Manager. Now we'll go back to if there's no further speakers, I will put that to the vote. So we'll go back to the original, we're at the original motion. All those in favour? We have Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Devlin, Councillor Nye, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Smith, Councillor Ward, Councillor Kay. Those against? Councillor Pettit, Councillor Spencer. The vote being 8-2, that is carried. We will now move to the next GB item on the agenda, which is GB7, which is the 2025 LGNSW Annual Conference proposed motion. Do I have a mover for GB7? Councillor Balachandran?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a mover.
An alternate motion? Okay. We'll put that up on the screen. Can you maybe note, Councillor Balachandran, what the difference was from the original recommendation, if you don't mind?
Yes, so the first point is exactly the same as the staff recommendation. The second point adds a concern around the clause 5.19, which is unfairly limiting attendance at council meetings by audiovisual link, and it recommends that we put a motion to LGNSW seeking independent legal advice on this clause and consider pursuing a legal challenge against the OLG. So this goes as a motion to LGNSW. And also that separately we write directly to the Minister seeking a response back to Ku-ring-gai.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor as seconder. Now, Councillor Balachandran, would you like to speak to that motion?
Very briefly, thank you, yes. So clause 5.19 restricts councillor attendance by AV to only ill health or other medical reasons or because of unforeseen caring responsibilities. It's fundamentally unfair and contrary to principles of equity, good governance and community representation in local government. The imposition of these unnecessary restrictions ignores the successful operation of remote and hybrid council meetings over recent years. By severely limiting remote attendance, the clause may also constitute a form of indirect discrimination under the New South Wales Anti-Discrimination Act 1977, particularly on the grounds of sex and disability. The clause may also contravene the principles in the Carers Act by failing to appropriately support and recognise the role of councillors who are carers, especially when their responsibilities are known or ongoing rather than unforeseen. The failure to provide reasonable, flexible remote attendance options may also violate the principles of accessibility and inclusion under the Disability Inclusion Act. Further, it disadvantages regional and remote brothers and sisters because it doesn't recognise their unique geographical and logistical realities. It also applies the principles of parliamentary attendance that are unsuitable to a local government model. State members of parliament are employed full-time, whilst the role of a councillor is structurally part-time. Applying this restriction mid-term unfairly alters one of the premises upon which current councillors who have other jobs were elected, and it imposes economic hardship on those with primary external employment and will actively discourage skilled individuals with full-time careers from running from council in the future. Hence, I think we should challenge it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Alec Taylor, as seconder of the motion, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Limiting remote access to meetings for councillors is regressive and embarrassingly old-fashioned in this post-COVID world.
Is that all, Councillor Taylor? Thank you. Any other speakers? Otherwise, I will put the motion. All those in favour? That looks like that's unanimous. We will now move to the next item is GB12. So the Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme and Amended Affordable Housing Policy Post-Exhibition Report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Taylor and a... Okay, you'd like to move the staff recommendation? Yep. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Wheatley got her hand up quickly then. All right. Councillor Taylor, did you want to speak?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Are there any speakers? No, you reserve your rights. I'll then just put that to the vote. So all those in favour of the staff recommendation for GB12, that is Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Devlin, Councillor Nye, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Smith, Councillor Ward and Councillor Kay. Those against, Councillor Pettit, Councillor Spencer, the votes being 8-2, that is carried. We'll now move to GB17, which is the Faster Assessments Initiative. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, GB14, which is the consideration of submissions, planning proposal 51 to 53 Raheny Street, Turramurra. So do I have a mover? Councillor Balachandran.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay, and a seconder, Councillor Wheatley. Councillor Balachandran, would you like to speak?
I have some questions actually.
Yep.
The first one is, what provisions do we have in our policy to seek affordable housing in seniors living developments?
General Manager, would you like to answer that or pass that on to a director?
Madam Mayor, I will pass that on to the Director of Strategy and Environment.
Director of Strategy and Environment.
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's my understanding that we can ask for affordable housing.
Thank you. And also I note that the developer in question suggested it took 2 years for the design amendments to be provided. Can you speak to that? Did it take that long and why?
Through you, Madam Mayor, fairly complex issue. There's a timeline in the report to Council. We would say that large elements of that timeframe weren't necessarily of Council's doing. There seems to be a degree of design and documentation which we say isn't necessarily required for a planning proposal, but the developer has chosen to do that, and that unfortunately leads to additional time on this project.
Thank you. That's all I had. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Devlin.
Yep, that's good. Madam Mayor, I've just got a question through you, and I assume back to the
Actually, sorry, it was Councillor Taylor that seconded, so did you want to speak before we move? Oh, Councillor Wheatley. Okay. Councillor Wheatley, did you want to speak to it? Okay. Councillor Devlin.
Round two. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I've got one question through you to the Director of Strategy and Environment. I note that there has been a memorandum issued today with relation to GB14, which does make reference to some testing and outcomes. Just for the purpose of those in the room and those who have not read the full report, or those that will unlikely amongst the community read the amendment, the memorandum either, not to suggest that that would apply to those councillors in the room tonight, but can you please update Council as to the nature of the testing that has been conducted by the Council and whether there is any impact on the overall GFA or ILU, sorry, the number of independent living units for this project?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll have a first attempt at that, and in the event that the staff think I've done an inadequate job, I might phone a friend. The principal report includes attachment A5, which was a building offset study. Our assessment is that there is no loss or reduction in unit provision or GFA. We would say that the offsets make up for the changes that were recommended in the principal report. The memorandum that was circulated today goes a little bit further to the point where if the assertion that 180 square metres reduction only leads to the loss of 3 independent living units, that equates to GFA per unit in the order of 60 square metres. Now, the original calculations to give us a overall yield of 110 units was based on 138 square metres per independent living unit. So if you extrapolate that, you end up with a substantially greater number of units than the original 110. So, and that was always a concern of staff, that this proposal was possible of being modified at DA stage to greater than 110 units. And if you take 180 square metres equating to 3 units, we would say you're looking at somewhere in the order of 250 units rather than 110. So we would say there's certainly no reduction in independent living units or GFA is our proposition.
Thank you, Director. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Did you want to phone a friend, Director
It
Strategy?
appears they're not kicking me, so I'll
No.
assume
Okay,
I've covered
we
it.
will. Okay. Are there any other questions on GB14 or any other speakers? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That looks like that's unanimous. We will now move on to GB17, okay, which is the faster assessment incentive program, nomination of amenities building and clubhouse at Canoon Road netball courts as Route 1 grant project. So I've just got a alternate motion, if the staff wouldn't mind putting that up. Okay, so just put that up on screen, give you a few moments to read that. And we're basically adding that possible projects be identified for funding in advance and providing to Council with an assessment against relevant criteria should Council be eligible for funding under future rounds of the faster assessment incentive program, and also for reference for other small capital grants program. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Devlin, just beat Councillor Nye. Okay, I'm going to reserve my right. Councillor Devlin, did you want to speak on GB17?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I did want to speak on item 17, and hopefully I can allay everyone's fears in the chamber. This will be the last time you should hear from me this evening. Before us tonight is a clear opportunity to make a practical, high impact investment in local community infrastructure. One of the benefits, one of those projects that benefits the greatest number of participants across the widest range of users and builds on decades of established planning, access and inter-club cooperation. That place is, of course, the Canoon Road Recreation Area. The evidence, Madam Mayor, sorry, there's a bit of noise in the chamber on my right. The evidence is overwhelming. The Ku-ring-gai Netball Association, representing over some 5,000 players and other involved individuals from 16 clubs, has unanimously supported the Canoon Road upgrade as its preferred project. Every affiliated club within the LGA has also written to Council this week in support of this. These clubs are not competing against one another or even against other codes. They are united in urging Council to focus this funding where it will serve the greatest number of participants and create real, immediate community benefit. It is about backing a project that delivers immediate, measurable outcomes for thousands of girls, boys, parents, coaches, umpires and volunteers across the LGA. Canoon Road is the long-standing home of netball in Ku-ring-gai. It already accommodates netball, tennis, pickleball, there is some unorganised futsal and some school sport, and has the infrastructure like parking and other accessibility required for large-scale community use. It is a true multi-sport hub that sits at the heart of our active recreation network. Rod Jackson, the K&A president, confirmed that the new amenities would, and I quote, be made available for other users of the Canoon Road courts. So tennis, pickleball and some of the others I made mention of earlier, as well as being made for general community hire as a community facility. Moreover, the Canoon Road upgrade aligns perfectly with Council's adopted strategies, including the Open Space Sport and Recreation Plan and our more recent pickleball and tennis action plans, which identify the site as a regional sports hub requiring surface renewal, lighting upgrades and accessibility improvements. Accordingly, I support the Mayor's amendment to ensure that any New South Wales Government grant funding under this program is directed immediately to the upgraded Canoon Road Recreation Area and not diverted elsewhere. It is the right project in the right place with the right community backing it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'll just confirm that that is the motion. It was an alternate motion.
No, I'm supporting yours.
Yeah, it wasn't an amendment, it's now a motion is what I'm saying.
Sorry, my apologies.
Okay. No, that's okay. Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am speaking in favour of this alternative motion with a hesitation. The project to build a new amenities building and clubhouse for the netballers at Canoon Road is a worthy and credible project. And if we are successful in securing the funding for it, I wish the netballers and council well for a successful construction on time and within budget. I do think it's regrettable that we didn't have the time to perform a formal selection process for the allocation of this funding, but it will be good to go through a process for future rounds and indeed for any future funding opportunities beyond the Faster Assessments Incentive Program.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question, and it's really to help community organisations understand this decision, because I do agree the netball is a worthy cause. I'd like to ask staff why they picked this project, or using what criteria did they use to pick this particular project?
I will
so
offer
that
that.
other community organisations understand how they can get on future lists.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Balachandran. General Manager, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. We're only certain that these grants would be available in about August, and then it was sometime after that that there was more information released, and so we had a limited amount of time to consider the project that we would select, and front of mind was this project, the Netball Canoon Road project. And for reasons that have been explained tonight that I know everyone understands, it was seen as a worthy project that that would likely meet the requirements for the grant, and it was as simple as that. So we didn't go through a process of thinking of all the other possibilities, of which there's probably many. We didn't really have time. We had to report to this council and get council to sign off on it. But look, I agree with Councillor Taylor that it would be better if there was a process, and I see that that's addressed in Part B.
Okay, Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd first like to express my congratulations and thankfulness to staff for qualifying us for this grant. So as we know, a year ago, our development applications average assessment days was 137 days. So that meant for someone applying for a DA, it took about 137 days on average before they got a final outcome. Now, we've had a service review in the development applications process. We've also had our staff separately look through the process before the service review as well. And through their hard work, we've achieved a reduction to 109 days average for a development application. So that's quite a significant improvement in the speed at which we assess development applications. And so, look, grants like these, they can't be taken for granted. We had to work hard for it. We've done the hard work. We've got the grant now. Secondly, I'd also like to congratulate staff for even nominating a project for this grant. When I talk to other colleagues in the local government sector, my understanding is that there was a previous year, long time in the past, where Ku-ring-gai did qualify for a grant, but it was unable to find an unfunded project, and so we just missed out on the grant. So at least on this occasion, we've taken the opportunity to identify an unfunded project and proceed, well, at least nominate it for potential receipt of the grant. It's much better than Ku-ring-gai a few years ago. Thirdly, I'd just like to say that this does appear on the surface to be a reasonable opportunity. One of my bugbears with grants is that, look, they're fantastic. They fund work that benefits the community. But quite often I see things where we've got a tiny grant here and Ku-ring-gai is expected to cough up the remaining 75% or 80% of costs. And that's extremely frustrating when the grants issued by state or federal government, perhaps close to an election, are used to derail council's long-term financial plan. In this particular case, my understanding is that with a grant plus the money that the netball clubs have already raised, that should cover the full amount, if not a substantial amount, which allows council to focus on other priorities. So, and fourthly, look, I understand, I hear what other councillors say about having perhaps an expanded list of different unfunded opportunities to choose from, and I hope that we'll be in a position next year where we can do that sort of thing, when if what I expect comes true, we're offered a second grant on this particular matter. But yeah, that's something that we've been working on for the last few years anyway. As I noted in my speech on GB4, we hope to have that infrastructure list going forward. So look, I fully endorse and support the officer's recommendation and encourage other councillors to do so.
Are we talking about the alternate motion that is on the table here?
Oh
So-
yes,
Yeah,
this alternate
which is-
motion,
and yeah.
the original
The
motion.
modification, yeah. Okay. I've just got a couple of questions to the Director of Strategy, which just adds on to what you've been saying, Councillor Nye. How much is the netball, the K&A, putting towards this project?
Through you, Madam Mayor, they have stated, and it is verifiable from their accounts, that they have in the order of $1.4 million in the bank, and they've offered somewhere between $1 million and $1.2 million for this project.
So this has been confirmed? Is that what you're stating here?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Director Watson? Okay. And just another question for you. As far as you are aware with these funds, have they come from grants, or is this their own money that potentially may come from fundraising? Are you aware of where the funds come from, or is grants included in this?
Through you, Madam Mayor, they have not sought recently owners' consent to lodge grant applications. It's my understanding that all of the money that's on the table is their own.
Thank you, Director Watson. Just one more question in relation to just going off from Councillor Nye. I just want to confirm that if we were successful with this $2 million grant, and they obviously have their contribution, how much would we have to contribute as a council?
Through you, Madam Mayor, at the moment the funding stack doesn't involve or envisage council making any contribution, though I imagine there might be some in-kind project management, but certainly it's a project that is at this point in time understood to be fully funded by the grant and the club.
Thank you, Director Watson. Okay, are there any other speakers? Doesn't look like there is, so I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so that is the end of our general business. We do have one more item. As I stated earlier, we don't have any notice of motion, so we will move. We have a confidential matter. So in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act and the resolution of Council earlier this evening, the item, which is classified as C2, is confidential and discussion will be closed to the public. I now seek a motion to move into confidential session for item C2. Councillor Taylor was very quick at putting his hand up, and Councillor Munn-Smith seconding that. Now, members of the public and the press are now asked... Oh, sorry, I'll put that to the vote. I think I've jumped ahead. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so now members of the public and the press are asked to leave the chamber, and I will ask for council staff to suspend the webcast and close the doors. Thank you. Okay, in closed session, the council has resolved, moved by councillors Taylor and seconded by councillor Balachandran, that council receive and note the report and proceed in accordance with the proposed actions detailed in the report as amended by the note signed by the Mayor at this meeting. Those four were Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Devlin, Councillor Nye, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Smith and Councillor Kay, and against we had Councillor Pettit and Councillor Spencer. I will now move on to the last bit of the agenda, which is business without notice. Is there any business without notice subject to clause 9.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice? No business without notice. There being no further business, I'd like to thank councillors and staff. I'd also like to thank members of the public for their attendance. The webcast of this meeting will be available on the council website and minutes will be published within the next 2 working days. I declare the meeting closed at 9:28 p.m. Thank you.